What is going on, Diablo 2 fam? LordZhangFei bringing you a new series today, the Diablo 1 Hero Challenge. Today we're going to be doing the Sister of Jazreth. What is this challenge, you ask yourself? Well, we're only going to be using items that specifically dropped in Diablo 1 and taking them into Uber Tristram. This challenge was extremely difficult, and I look forward to bringing you guys all these episodes. Episode 1 is going to be about the Sorceress, obviously Sorcerer in Diablo 1, who later became the Summoner. I'm sure you all know that. Let's go ahead and check these items out and see what we're going to be using today. Alright, first item up is going to be WizSpike. These do have similar stats. Add to mana, add to resist all. It looks like they juice them up huge though for Diablo 2. Definitely not a bad item in Diablo 2. Next up is going to be Harlquin Crest, Shako, legendary item in Diablo 2. In Diablo 1 it was not so legendary. I think it's kind of funny they kept the +2 to all attributes across the board there. Totally useless. Little bit of hit points, little bit of mana. Definitely not the item you are looking for in Diablo 1. It is a quest item. So the next up is going to be the item you really want to find from Wirt, is the Godly Plate of the Whale. This is an iconic item in Diablo 1. Diablo 2, not so much. You probably see him if you see him. It took me a while to find this item. We did take ours to Larzuk and did get a couple hole punches in it, so of course we are going to be hitting those up with the facets. And then next up on the list is going to be the Blackoak Shield. Again, this does kind of stick with the Diablo 1 theme. Dexterity, minus light resistance, extremely high durability. Never really noticed that about the durability. Of course, it does add to the cold absorb, and it does give you life in this one. In Diablo 1, it obviously gave you minus vitality as well as minus light radius. Not a bad item. Actually, very important we use this on this specific run with a Sorceress. And then we do have the Ruby Amulet, +40 to all, or excuse me, +40 to fire resistance. We're pretty much going to be using that throughout the entire challenge here. We do have the Rosette Ring of Perfection, +16 to dexterity, +20 to fire resist. And then the Cobalt Ring of Precision. We will be using magic rings throughout this entire challenge because there is no unique rings or amulets that made it from Diablo 1. So that is definitely going to be hurting us. Let's go ahead and check this run out. Alright, so since in Diablo 1 there was no boots, gloves, or belt, those items are going to be free game, as well as the inventory. On top of only using items from Diablo 1 for the remaining items, this whole series will actually feature no pre-buff, which means no battle orders, no fade, no demon limb enchant, or any kind of wands, which left me in a really strange position to try and defeat Ubers with the Sorceress here. At first I thought this was going to be pretty straightforward. Normally Sorceress runs are pretty easy, but seeing as there was no way to use lower resist or have a Merc with conviction, because we're also not going to be using any mercenaries for this challenge, this left me really kind of scratching my head how I was going to defeat Ubers with a Sorceress. Obviously, with Cold Mastery lowering their resistance, it was a no-brainer to go ahead and do a cold Sorceress for Mephisto. But that also really left me wondering how I was going to defeat Baal and Diablo with lightning without any of those buffs. So what we decided to do was, let's see if we're almost there yet. What we're trying to do here is, since Blackoak has got cold absorb, we are going to use that as a crutch here, and we are going to spawn enough cold skeletons down here to inevitably keep me alive throughout the entire fight. Because against Diablo and Baal, there is no way to get open wounds, and there's no way to lower their lightning resistance past what I can with a couple facets. So the only way we are going to be able to defeat them is to literally sit there and spam lightning and hope that it is enough to combat their life regeneration, which turned out to be very challenging, and it is only possible if I do exactly what I'm doing now, which is to spawn as many cold skeletons as we can down here. If you'll notice, my health is not going under 1600, and that's because I am just getting healed so much from all of those ice bolts right there. So we're just going to sit down here for a minute or two and spawn as many of these cold guys as we can. Of course, that Nova going off isn't really hurting him that much because I have no synergies to it. But that Nova is actually going to play a role here when we decide to finally go after Baal and Diablo. You do need to have a ton of mana pots, so we're going to be grabbing some there. And look at all those guys. That is so much. And you think about each one of those heals about 50 or 60 life per bolt. I mean, that's just crazy. If you look behind the Sorceress there, I mean, there's no way Mephisto is going to be killing him. So we're just going to sit here and just spam Blizzard on Mephisto until he dies. He has zero chance to kill me. One of the interesting things about doing this challenge was that I use Rising Sun a lot. And seeing as we're only going to be using magic rings and amulets, that really hurts our absorb situation there. No Rising Sun, no Wisp, no Raven Frost, none of that fun stuff. It does take a little while to kill Mephisto here, and let me just warn you right up front, it is definitely going to take a while to kill Diablo and Baal. And unfortunately, without any conviction or lower resist, using elements on these guys is just not the way to go. I actually tried to use an enchanted sorceress using the Cranium Basher originally, but without having the absorb from Blackoak there, it just was never gonna happen. So we do switch out our armor. We do have the Godly Plate of the Whale with lightning facets in it as well. Go ahead and swap out these charms. There is a brief cut in the video, and that is because I ran out of money to buy potions, so we went ahead and dropped us a couple 100,000 from another character. I'll obviously respec into lightning. There is no way to have cold kill Diablo or Baal. Even if you had max conviction, max lower resist, you still cannot kill Baal with cold. So switch it up to lightning real quick. And we do not do that much damage at all. I think it's like 5 through 25k, which actually plays a really big role in how this all pans out, because if you get a couple bad strikes where you're only doing, 50, 100 damage, obviously that's not going to hurt him at all. And if that happens a few consecutive times in a row, well, then he's going to be regenerating life faster than you can kill it. So a lot of RNG played factor into this, which is why we have to do what we're doing here, because we need to be able to go completely toe-to-toe with Diablo and Bale here. What we're doing now is I found it much easier as far as the way he summons guys to get him to spawn a couple summons, not a whole lot, but just enough to really slow down what he's going to be spawning down here when we're actually fighting. And if you just kind of swing around this broken building here, you can actually get all of them trapped just like that. So now he does have guys he has spawned. The AI recognizes that he's already spawned a couple guys, and there are still so many skeletons left that he's not going to be real interested in spamming me with a lot of those minions. Not that they make a big difference. What I really think it helps most for is with Diablo, because now we have Bale. He's got a grip of summons that are spawned in that building. Mephisto's got a lot of summons that are spawned. And honestly, Diablo is by far the hardest one in this challenge, because if he spawns even 3 or 4 Venom Lords, you can pretty much kiss the whole run goodbye, because you cannot kill them. You cannot scare them away with like a terror charge. Or maybe if you had a Merc that had the armor that does Howl. Can't remember, Myth. Yeah, Myth. So I'm kind of getting jumped right here. With the declone, it's not so good. And I ended up killing up too many of those frozen skeletons. So I want to say the sweet number is around 5 or 6. If you get 5 or 6 of them, you can pretty much never die. Make sure all the gear is right. Got all those guys. This is a good situation right here. Definitely want to make sure you position your character too, so the lightning doesn't hit the skeletons. The Nova does kill them, so we try to back up a little bit right there. But that extra Nova damage does come in handy. Again, we're trying to combat Bale's life regeneration here. And I mean, you can tell right here though, there is no problem with survivability. Once you get 5, 6, 7 of those skeletons throwing that glacial spike or whatever the spell is, I can't remember. So just sit back, relax, keep your right click spammed on him, and just hope you don't run out of mana potions. Like I said, there's no real way for you to die right here. It's kind of interesting going toe-to-toe like this with Bale and having no real way of using a melee life tap or something like that. Normally you'd be getting smacked around pretty hard. But doing these challenges really became aware of how strong Blackoak shield actually is if you use it in a manner like this. I mean, it's a really cool item. I don't think a lot of people use it so much at all. With the huge boost to dexterity too, you can hit max block. We don't hit max block with this because we did sacrifice a little bit for some life, but honestly I think I could have probably done this with half the life that I have. It just would have made the Mephisto fight a little more dicey. This whole Diablo 1 hero challenge really got me to try some new strategies and really think outside the box on quite a few runs. Like I said, I thought this Sorcerer run was going to be easy, because most of them are, and it actually turned out to be quite the opposite. But as you can tell, with enough patience, the lightning will eventually kill Bale. Now we do have a facet in the Shako, the Blackoak, the WizSpike, and 2 facets in the armor. So that does lower him down to to 50 lightning resistance. So in reality, we are doing 2 point, well, it doesn't really use points, but 3 damage through 12.5 8,000 damage, roughly around 6,000 damage on average, 6,250. But it is enough if you just have enough patience. And this is when all the tricks come into play here, because you want to make sure that you don't kill too many of these guys fighting Diablo. You also really want to make sure that you leave Baal's minions trapped inside that broken house, because all this is going to come into play with how many minions Diablo spawns. Venom Lords cannot be killed. They are by far the biggest challenge in doing this. So you have got to get the ones he does spawn to run away. Hope he doesn't spawn any. I mean, he hits really hard with the physical hits, so see, as you can tell, we got a couple spawned already. We're gonna just tuck them away in this building here. Go over here, hope Diablo runs after us. There he goes. And this is the perfect scenario right here. You're surrounded by the frozen mages. They are laying into you. And you're just gonna wanna sit back, hope you don't run out of mana potions, and hope he doesn't spawn any Venom Lords, because they will kill you. There's just not enough room in the build to get any kind of damage reduction. So if you have a couple Venom Lords in Diablo all hitting you with physical attacks, you just can't keep up with it. But Diablo by himself, he can smack you around a few times, but ultimately all of those frozen mages are going to heal you just fine. And the Thunder Gods comes into play here too. The lightning hose is half physical, half lightning damage, so he's healing you with that as well. And like I said, especially when you get those multiple rings of Nova, it is really not that much extra damage. I think it's like 400 or 500 per ring. But still, you know, that's really significant actually when you get a couple of them going at once. When you take into consideration that you're just fighting his life regeneration here. I honestly was worried I wasn't going to be able to beat it. It seemed without lower resist or conviction, almost impossible at times, but you know, it just really came down to having the patience and really making sure that you understand how to get them to not spawn guys like Diablo, no Venom Lords. And you know, what I did right here isn't a foolproof method either. I just feel like with Baal having summons on the map and Mephisto having summons on the map, it is a sure thing. I don't even think I went over the other gear. Of course, we used Thunder Gods. We do have some resistance boots that have that Nova shield, or not Nova shield, where the Nova chance to cast, that's where that's coming from. And then for the gloves, we used Mage Fist. As you can see, we almost got him down though. There he goes. Good night. Go over the rest of the gear here. Thought it was pretty funny to beat it like this. Definitely would not recommend going at it like this unless you had conviction or lower resistance, but you know, it is possible without it. That was my beautiful pre-patch torch. I really like that thing. 25% chance to cast Firestorm. See, 5 through 25k damage. All is good. Let's go kill all of these guys just for fun. Check out what this torch is. I'll show you the other gear as well. A couple resist charms in there too. Just like the AFK run I did, Pacifist Tristram run. With this run, you also wanted to have less cold resistance so that you can really maximize how much you're gaining against Mephisto. Alright. Not too bad, Paladin Torch. I appreciate you guys for checking out the video, and I will see you on episode 2. Take it easy.